The Joe Rogan Experience.
Sometimes I'll watch these replays 10, 15 times from different angles, and all of a sudden I'll see something and it's like a light bulb moment. I love those moments. But
yeah, Anderson had many of those moments in his career where you recognize that he had seen a pattern and then he just struck on that pattern and hit pay dirt. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's like Max Holloway does it now. Like that first round is like his download round.
Yeah.
You know, he gathers information, he studies their patterns. And that's why if you look at Max Holloway's stats, his first round, his percentage of success is low and his output's low. But then as his success rate increases, so does his output. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know any other fighter that does that.
No, he's brilliant in that. And his output is preposterous. His output is just so outrageous. But not as outrageous as Colby Covington's. Colby Covington might have the most outrageous output in the sport.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
What about him and Usman, though? Do you
they're
think
both
Usman...
outrageous. It's all who's the better wrestler.
Yes.
Who's the better wrestler and who has more power and who can keep that up for the longest. Because Colby can keep that shit up for 5 rounds. He's done an amazing job of getting people to dismiss him because they think he's a piece of shit. with his MAGA hat and all the trash talk that he does. It's fucking brilliant, man. Because what he's done is just insult everybody and anybody, get a lot of people talking about him, and then fuck people up. So it's like, whoa, this is a crazy combination because it fucks with their head. They don't want to lose to this guy. They don't want to hear him talk shit. After he beats your ass, he's going to still talk shit? Fuck. There's a slight, I don't know, depending upon the person, but at least slight burden in experiencing that from a person. It might be a big burden. Maybe you're one of those people that has a hard time getting fucked with, and you can't. It keeps you up at night, and then it's like maybe it diminishes your performance 20%, maybe 30%.
Yeah.
And Colby doesn't get tired. He keeps coming. It's terrifying. Robbie Lawler just kept bobbing and weaving and hoping for these openings that were never there. And then Colby's just on you. He was punching some ridiculous amount, like 1 every 2.4 seconds or some crazy shit. He broke the work rate, right?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Against Robbie Lawler.
I know. But Robbie just, you know, like that first round in particular, when he's up against the fence and he wasn't even hand fighting the chokes, like that, it looked like he was kind of coasting for a couple of rounds with the intention of getting started later. But then I just think the intensity of Colby just burned him out faster than he expected.
I think when you're an explosive guy like Robbie is, where he fires fucking hurricane speed bombs at you, and when he does that, he's going 100%. 100%. Colby never goes 100%. If you watch him, he's punching like 70%, 60%, 70%, 60%, and he just stays on you. Very Nick Diaz-like in Diaz's early days, like when Diaz fought Frank Shamrock. Perfect example. Like, he just puts that pace on you, keeps talking shit and puts that pace on you, and he's hitting you a lot. So you're always tight, like you're always tightening up, and it's just draining your battery.
Yeah,
and you don't want to lose to this guy because he's talked so much shit. And you're like, well, he's talked so much shit, but when I get a hold of him, guess what? When you get a hold of him, he's great. That's the problem. The problem is all those things that fuck with you, plus he's a great fighter. So the meanness, the shit talking, all the MAGA stuff, the strippers, the cringe, you're like, oh my God, right? And then on top of it, the fucking output inside the octagon, you're like, shit. He's doing all that and he's fucking me up. He might have fucked me up even if he didn't do all that. But he does all that and I don't want to lose to him and he's fucking me up. It's like, God damn.
Do you think there's a point where Colby thinks, you know, at any point during his training camp, like, shit, I've stacked the odds against myself here. I had that moment before Marcus Davis where I thought to myself, if I lose here, I'm gonna look really fucking stupid.
I think that Colby is doing a brilliant job of playing a bad guy like pro wrestling style. And I think he didn't used to do that early in his career. He was a hard-working guy who just went out there and fought his ass off, but people didn't give a shit. And they weren't giving him the credit that he deserves. And so he turned heel. And from that, he's become the interim welterweight champion. He's one of the most talked about guys in the sport. He took on a character. That's what I think. And I think that character is super successful at fucking with people. You know, I mean, and he can fucking fight, man.
Yeah, he can.
You can't underestimate that kind of cardio. That kind of cardio is crazy. To be able to do that for 5 rounds, that's bananas. That pace is insane.
Yeah. And Robbie Lawler's strong as well.
He's a bull.
Such a difficult person to hold down. I wonder whether Robbie Lawler left some of his training camp, whether he left some of his effort in the gym. Like, I would imagine Robbie Lawler's the kind of guy that still trains like he's in his 20s. Like, he's like on it every day.
Well, maybe. Or maybe they trained together. And when they trained together, Colby was getting the best of it. I mean, I think they did train together at American Top Team. And maybe Colby knew that he could out-wrestle him. He knew if he just stayed on him, he would break him and out-wrestle him. I mean, when someone has a wrestling advantage, it goes back to this one more time. When someone has a wrestling advantage, that is a big deal when you start getting tired and this guy has better technique than you and he's not as tired as you are because he's fighting more efficiently, and then he gets a hold of you and they're like, fuck, I'm on my back. And then you're like, God damn it. And then you try to get back up, but you can't. And the bell's over and you get back up and you go, all right, got to keep this guy from taking me down. Then boom, he takes you down to Dan. Yeah. Again, he keeps punching you on the feet. He keeps hitting you and making you move backwards. And you're just looking to land this big bomb, but there's never an opening for it. And you think he's going to slow down, but he never does.
So Colby against Khabib at a catchweight, what do you reckon?
Ooh.
Who outpaces the other one?
Dude, they could get Ted Nugent to sing the national anthem. America! Fuck yeah! I think that's an amazing fight. If Khabib ever did want to fight at 170, I think him versus Usman would also be an amazing fight. I want to see Colby and Usman. I mean, that's the fight, right? I mean, and I also think if you're going to have an interim champion, you should treat that fighter like it's a champion. Like, you can't just take their fight, you can't take their belt away if they don't want to fight right now because they're injured or because they need surgery. Okay? I think we have to respect the championship title. Otherwise, people are going to look at interim championships like it doesn't mean anything. It should mean as much as a championship. Like, we're saying you have to fight for the title next. So to say that they don't have to fight for the title next and we're just going to take that thing away from you, you just take it away. Like, but you're still the person's still fighting. So they're still the champion. They didn't lose. You just take it away because what? Is there a mandatory contender that the WBA or the WBC or the IBF? No, it's just the UFC. The UFC decides like who fights and who fights when. I'm happy that they have interim championships because I think there's times and places for that. But you got to treat it like it's a championship. And Colby never lost the championship.
Yeah.
He won that interim title against RDA in an incredible performance. And then they just take it away from him.